started off as a PG podcast, but then Devin just kept on dropping shits and fucks, and
I'm just trying to figure out what's in her mouth.
I just want to see him interview Francesco Accoli.
Oh, he's a good human being, is what he would say about himself, I'm sure.
Who's hosting this thing?
Take charge, Kevin, would you? Jesus.
First time we ever met those guys. That was the major drunken pub argument.
I think you guys are the worst.
I'm gonna have to probably watch some Canucks hockey, unfortunately.
Just making friends left, right, and center, and probably some enemies as well.
Tell him to shut up. He needs to hear that every once in a while.
Off to a good start.
All right. We are live.
It's okay to talk when it goes live.
Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to the Hockey Podcast. You can, of course, follow us on Twitter at podcast_hockey. We are live, Facebook.com, The Hockey Podcast. We are live on YouTube.com, The Hockey Podcast, where we sit at 100 and John Madden, 1993 of subscribers. Before we begin, I will want to give I know we are a hockey podcast, but I was tremendously influenced by the great John Madden and his ways of commentary, the way he said boom, the telestrator, turducken. He was just a very unique human being. And he passed away this morning at the age of 85. Of course, many play the video game Madden. If you're not an NFL fan, that's okay. I just wanted to start by giving a tribute quickly to John Madden. Rest in peace before we get into the hockey. But we're talking hockey. If you have any questions and comments, leave them here. We are recapping Canada's 11-1 victory over Austria. Sean is with me. Hello, Sean. How are you doing?
Hello, Kevin. I want to echo your sentiments about John Madden. He is a absolute legend in the broadcasting industry, an absolute legend in the NFL coaching profession. One of the best NFL coaches of all time, one of the best sports announcers of all time. Flat out, we'll put it out there. All sports, he's one of the best ever. For my generation, your generation, Kevin, we grew up listening to that big booming voice of John Madden and calling NFL games. And then he got in with EA Sports to do the Madden football video game series. That if you were any sort of football fan, you played growing up, if you had the ability, if you had a console or computer to do that on. And it's just football players getting the Madden the 99 rank or whatever now that they do is almost as big to them as getting any other award, personal award. It's almost bigger than getting any personal award they get from like the NFL. Like it's that big, and that's how big of a impact he had. And condolences go out to his friends and family, and we lost a legend today.
Yes, he absolutely. Yeah. I'll just say it. He was the greatest announcer of all time. I don't think anyone is. I don't think anyone is on that level. I think he was one of a kind. He was an original, and it's a sad day. But boom, we go on, and then and we talk about a game where people were introduced to a young man by the name of Connor Bedard. But can I take a couple moments here to do some humble bragging, Sean?
Go for it, Kev. As I put it in our group chat. You do you, boo.
Okay. The reason I want to do some humble bragging here is we have talked about Connor Bedard before everyone. We're kind of the hipsters of Connor Bedardism here a little bit. I interviewed Matt Rowe, who covers the Regina Pats for the Dub Network. We talked about Connor Bedard in the WHL preview. We talked about, I wrote about Connor Bedard when I was covering the U18s for the Dub Network. This is why we kind of want to expand outside of this NHL realm and talk about junior hockey and other hockey out there, is because you get an opportunity to see special talents like this, and you don't get to just see them on TSN from December 26th and January 2nd. It's the year-round growth that you get to watch. And it's one of those things. He's, I know everyone is all excited about him, and you have every right to be. He had a phenomenal night. But it's also, this is just, to me, two reminders. One, this is why you need to listen to us, because we will talk about things like this, and we won't just talk about this when it's cool. We'll talk about this when it's not cool. And the other thing, and we dig into other hockey, not only our hockey, NHL hockey, if that's worded right. And that's the first thing. And also, as Peter Labardi has put it to me, and this is the other thing, this is why you need to support junior hockey. You're going to be paying $25 now for the next couple of years to see Connor Bedard come to our arena near you. Hopefully next year he's able to come out west. He's from out here in North Vancouver. It'd be great to see him play against some of these BC teams. Unfortunately, not able to right now because of obvious things. But when Connor Bedard comes, you need to watch him, because when he is drafted in the NHL, you're not going to be paying $25 to see Connor Bedard. You're going to be paying 10 times as much as that. So I would take this opportunity. And Connor Bedard is not the only young star in the WHL. There's a lot of young stars to watch now. We saw a few tonight, and yeah, just support junior hockey, folks. Support junior hockey.
Support all hockey.
Support all. I agree with you. Yeah.
We got into this yesterday in our regular episode. Please go give that a watch. And it's just been find a way to support, whether it is your local junior A team, your local junior B team, your local women's junior team, or if you're lucky enough to have a professional women's team in your city, go support them, because like, hockey's hockey, and it's great to watch regardless of the level. And we saw tonight just a coming out for Connor Bedard. Yeah, the scouting community, the internet scouting community, and the scouting community as a whole already know how good Connor Bedard is and is likely going to be. We've seen a lot of people put out the generational talent tag on a lot of players. Unfortunately, a lot of them unwarranted. I think Bedard is more than well earned that at this point. First hat trick in the World Juniors by a 16-year-old since Wayne fucking Gretzky.
Yeah.
Like, it's just that says it all. It's against Austria, but it's still, he's 16, and he didn't look out of place against Czechia last game. I doubt he'll look out of place for the rest of the tournament. Like, he is that good. Like, that a couple of the dangles he had tonight were just absolutely filthy. Like, they were to get a little crude here, they're a little orgasm worthy, honestly. The dangles he had, the one where to set up his fourth goal was absolutely ridiculous. And then that toe drag near the end that just he barely missed getting an assist right at the end there. That was absolutely filthy. Like, it's just I spent more time just hoping he was out there so I could watch him. That was what that kept me watching the game, honestly, because it was so much fun to watch.
Yeah, it was. He had a dynamic night. He's got a lot of He's got some Patrick Kane in him. He's got a bit of Nathan McKinnon in him. He's got that explosive skating ability. And I do see a little bit of Jack Eichel as well. I can see a little bit of that in him as well. He's just figuring out what he can do. So it's very scary. And what is impressive here is head coach Dave Cameron has tried to put the kid gloves on him. And when Adam Kersenblatt and Chris Roy were on with me doing the World Junior preview, check that out, by the way, we were thinking that Connor Bedard was not going to get a lot of ice time. This is just going to be a little bit of a training wheel session for him. There's a lot of other forwards on this group. There's a lot of other talent. And while that was true, Connor Bedard said, no, thank you. I'm here to play. And he has worked his ass off and he has put himself in a position where it is impossible to take this guy out. It's impossible to take this guy out of the lineup. He's been a difference maker. And yes, you can say this is Austria, but he did this against the Czechs as well. He did this in the pre-tournament as well. It's his work ethic that I think is I think I have to appreciate as much as that skill. It's the work ethic around the skill at 16. Not a lot of people have that work ethic at 16. I know I didn't have that work ethic at 16. I can only speak for me. And this is a kid that does, and that's exciting. And he's going to, I think if he carries this on, the sky's the limit for him.
Of all those players you mentioned, and I'm not a big fan of player comparisons because it's not, I don't think that's fair to the kids coming up. But of all the players you mentioned, the one that reminded me is Nathan McKinnon. His willingness, he's got the explosive skating ability. But he's more of a direct player than a Patrick Kane. He's more of a direct player than Jack Eichel. Like, he just takes the puck to the net. But he's got vision. And that's what makes McKinnon special. And then that's going to be what makes Bedard special. And you've watched him a lot more than I have, Kev. So but in terms of what I saw, what I've seen in the past couple games from him, that's what separates him, and that's what caught my eye.
This tournament as well, compared to this in the U18s, I think one of the things that I also noticed is just that willingness to make those moves. I didn't see that I don't remember seeing that as much in the U18 tournament as I did tonight. He just looks a lot more confident with the puck. Not that he was never not confident with the puck, but there's a lot more of that confidence with it. Like he is. It's kind of like Connor McDavid in the sense that he pretty much he knows what he's paid to do. Like he's going to be paid to score. We will probably see a couple of very similar goals that we talked about when Connor McDavid did the 1-on-4 on the Rangers. I could see Connor Bedard having the potential of doing that. It's his puck handling ability and his smarts. And he looks like a very, very smart, intelligent player. He's studying. And what I mean, like I see Patrick Kane and I see Jack Eichel. I understand you don't like player comparisons. But what I appreciate about that is I think he's trying to bridge every aspect of everybody else into his game and learn from everybody else. Like they talked a bit tonight about how he studied Austin Matthews' shot. It's just stuff like that I'm starting to appreciate. And it's that's going to be a gem. And
one thing I want to point out, and they pointed this out on the broadcast, like right now he's only 5'9", but he's already 180 pounds.
Yeah.
Like he's built like a fire hydrant.
Yep.
Like then that's like he's built like McKinnon. He's built like Marty St. Louis. Like in terms of that, and Crosby. Where it's like he may not be big. I don't know how tall he's going to be when he gets to the NHL, but he's not going to be a monster. He's not going to be a power forward 6'2", 240 guy, right? Even he's 6'2", 200, he's not going to be that. But if he's 180 now at 5'9", like he's going to lean out a bit because there's still probably some baby chub in there. but he's going to lean out, and he's probably going to, even if he only grows 2 more inches and he's like 5'11", he's still going to be 5'11", 190, maybe 200 when he matures with extra muscle and proper muscle and all that. And that's scary. That's scary.
Yeah.
Because like, you don't need to be big and tall and intimidating to be a good player. But if you're thick and you can control the contact and control the physicality, even if you're not the biggest player, that's huge. One of the biggest, like we talked about what makes Crosby so special. He's the most skilled grinder in NHL history. I think someone called him that, and I think that's a very apt way to describe how Crosby plays the game. From what I'm seeing, the short time I've seen Bedard, I could see that happening. Very similar. He's not gonna have to rely on explosive speed and creating gaps with his speed. He's gonna be able to create elsewhere. If he develops the way I think he could. And it's really early, and it's hilarious. We're talking about this, and we're making all these predictions about a 16-year-old. But man, the last time we saw this was McDavid, and the last time we saw that before that was Crosby.
Yeah, it was certainly exciting to watch, and I mean, he almost got the 5. He was close to getting 5. He almost got 6. Actually, there was another opportunity. Delorier set him up on that he just missed on that as well. He had 12. Yes, Desnoyers. I wanted to. Yes, that guy. As I
you and I think you and Ray Ferraro could not figure out. Kept seeing a D name that was like from Quebec, and you're like Darren Hayes, no, Delorier, no.
Yeah, I know.
Desnoyers.
It just doesn't roll off the tongue as easy. It's but yeah, he is something else. But I tweeted this out, and I think all the praise to Connor Bedard tonight. Let's for sure. But folks, Mason McTavish, we talked about this last time. He's NHL ready. Trevor Zegras and Mason McTavish up the middle from the Anaheim Ducks. Dylan Johnson, if you're in the chat, hear me out. That is massive for Anaheim. Oh my goodness. That is
he knows.
Scary. Like, that guy, Mason McTavish, already looks 27 years old. Like, he just has a maturity about his game. He's confident with the puck. He's got size already. I could see him wearing a C or an A on his chest very soon. As much as you want to give Bedard a praise, I want to make sure that there was a couple of other people tonight that I thought stood out. And Mason McTavish, again, he is NHL ready. And I'm not saying that don't get me wrong. I'm not saying he's a generational star, but he's a stud. He's a guy he's going to be a factor in the National Hockey League.
Oh, he already was in the 9 games that he played.
Yeah.
I watched him play live, and he didn't look out of place. I went to that game, and I'm like, all right, I'm watching Flames versus Ducks. I'm a Canucks fan. What am I going to watch? I'm going to see how much shit Matthew Tkachuk stirs up. I'm going to see if Gaudreau and Monahan can figure out what the hell they are. Remember, this is back before this is the beginning of the season. And then I wanted to see what, and I was like, I want to see what Drysdale looks like, and I want to see what McTavish looks like, because those guys are the future of this, and Zegras. Like, it was Zegras, McTavish, and Drysdale. Honestly, is what I was really excited to go see. Zegras attempted to do a freaking a Michigan. He attempted to do that in the middle of that game.
The precursor.
It was the precursor, yeah. And then Drysdale didn't look out of place. I think he set up the winner. And then McTavish didn't look out of place at all. And I think next year he's going to be good. Zegras and McTavish down the middle. You've got Troy Terry, who's finally found his game. Max Comtois has not had a great season this year, but he had a decent season last year. So they've got Anaheim's got some players to build around for sure. And I said this in the summer, and I'll say it again. I like what Anaheim has right now over what the Kings have. And I know I'm in the minority on that, but it's all because of, for me back then it was all about Jamie Drysdale, and he's still a big part of it, but not like have any of the Kings players really hit yet? Byfield's had his injuries, unfortunately. Turcotte is coming up playing his first NHL game tonight. They don't really have a great someone that you're eyeing as a number one or top pair defenseman just yet. Yeah, they got Helge Grans and they've got Brock Faber coming up, but those guys are still 2-3 years away from even making the league, let alone being potentially someone you look at as a top pair defenseman. But Drysdale's there. You've got a number one center in Zegras, and McTavish could potentially be one of those, like the Ryan Kesslers, for lack, I'm just going to rattle off guys who should be number one centers but are number twos because of who they have ahead of them. The Drysdales, the Malkins, the Kuznetsovs, like those guys who have Backstrom and Crosby and McDavid ahead of them. They could have that 1-2 punch down the middle, and that's scary for the Pacific Division.
Yeah. To me, I there's a little bit of a gem in Sweden there with Daryl Grams. I'm not saying I like what I've seen from him. I'm not saying he's a top stud defenseman, but I think that's a guy that LA could have a gem. But I think Brent Clark is in a very interesting position. He was picked 8th last year. Not one of the stories is he's not on this junior team. That's an interesting thing for LA. It is. I don't think you're necessarily off base saying Anaheim's in a better shape than LA. We haven't seen a lot from Quinton Byfield yet. Yes, he's been hurt. We'll see what Alex Turcotte's career brings too. The other guy,
you said Daryl Grams.
Yeah, I believe that's his name. Grams is the last name. Second round pick.
Helge Grans.
Yo, that guy. Okay, I heard someone call him Daryl. That's why I was like, oh, that's Daryl. Okay, Daryl Grant. I won't remember him, but I liked him. Grant, I really did like him.
No, they do. The Kings do have some interesting defensemen in the prospect pipeline right now. But what I'm saying is, they've got Doughty right now, but they don't have a true blue stud potential top pair defenseman. And that's a huge thing for me, in my opinion. You have to make, like, if you don't have that, you're missing a big key piece there.
I agree.
And so they've got Brent Clark, they've got Helge Grans, they've got Brock Faber. But if one of those can step up and become that's gonna be huge, and then they're set, because up front they've got way too much talent up front, honestly, in terms of potential, with Kaliev and Turcotte and I just said his name. Why am I drawing Byfield? They've got Tyler Madden. They've got Gabe Velarde. Like, they've got enough players that even if half of them don't hit, they're still going to have a good group of forwards to build around.
Yeah. The other guy I wanted to give a shout out to tonight was Donovan Sabrango. I think he's grown the first 2 games here. Confident jumping up in the play. Working. He's a 3rd round pick, so he's not one of those high prospects that everybody is watching out for necessarily. But I really was fairly impressed with him tonight as well. I thought he was a guy I thought had a good game.
Yeah, he did, and with dressing basically four pairs of defensemen, they did a good job spreading out the ice time. Carson Lambos was the low ice time at 8:59 for the game. And then the highest defenseman, I'm just sort of going through it. I hate how the IIHF has done this. I tried to copy it and paste it into a spreadsheet so I could like organize it. And no, they've got it. But we've got, let's see here. I think it's Owen Power at 1840. Yeah, it's Owen Power 1840 is the high minute man on the blue line, and everyone else was pretty much between 14 and 16 minutes on the blue line. That's some good spreading out. It's easy when you're winning that much, but yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I thought it's so hard to do much analysis on the game like this. I can't wait for tomorrow versus Germany. I think Germany is going to give them a tougher opponent than maybe many think. Like they're an up and coming hockey nation. Like don't count them out. Don't take them light. They're like Switzerland. They're like the Czechs and the Slovaks now. Like you take them lightly, they will take advantage of it.
Yeah, no, I think I'm intrigued to see what Germany is going to do. I think that's going to be an interesting game. And can we just give a round of applause to Leon Sommer? 64 shots, yes, 11 goals. He made 64 minus 11, 53 saves tonight. I mean, what a tough situation to be put in, but he battled all night. Like he really did. I want to give him some credit. I mean, I know it was 11-2, but give the kid some credit.
He faced 64 shots. He was like, that's ridiculous.
Yeah,
he did a great job. He to begin the game, it was he looked good. Like he looked good. He looked in good position. It just on Bedard's fourth goal, he was completely screened by his own defenseman. Like it was like his own defenseman was sitting on the top of the crease like he was freaking Matthew Tkachuk trying to screen the opposition's goalie. Like that's how good of a screen that was. Like, oh, he had no chance on most of the goals. Like there was a lot of really good passing plays, and he played well. He did play well. And then I really wish I'd been able to watch a little bit closer. I was really looking to see how Marco Kasper looked, because he's supposed to be a good prospect for this upcoming draft.
He was pushing and shoving in the first period, but once it was 5-0, wasn't really Austria was done after the first period.
They were done after the first 10 minutes.
Yeah, they were. It was over early. It was over early. But in terms of that's I think in terms of the game part, I don't think there's anything else to really get into, but we'll be back on air tomorrow. Chris is in the chat here. Love that Germany is certainly right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Chris, just wait until we go to the complete upside down in this topsy-turvy, weird-ass world that we live in now, when Canada beats Germany in soccer and then Germany beats Canada in hockey.
Yeah, and that could happen. Let's talk about the other news of the day. It was the U.S. Had 2 positive COVID cases, and they had to forfeit their game today against the Swiss. It's the Swiss, right? Yes, it was. So now the game in Sweden appears to be somewhat in question, but according to our your friend and mine, Bobby Margarita, I'll just try to see if I can pull up the tweet here from him. By the way, can we just also give a shout out to Stephen Ellis? Just very quickly, his diagrams and his art of the goals are fantastic.
That's it. It's been absolutely amazing. Heidi's loved every single one. I think my favorite one today was just him trying to draw Mason McTavish and And it was hilarious because it was just Kurt, like the curly hair all over it, because he's got the scraggly hair all over his head. And
Yeah.
he's been fantastic, and he's been doing he's been covering the World Juniors with good reporting as well. So yeah.
Yeah, no, he's doing both, and that's great.
Yeah.
Margarita, I'm not a doctor, but sometimes play one on TV. So let's go the last 24 hours of Team USA, the World Junior. What may or may not happen over the next 24. So pull up the thread. Good podcasting. Players on Team USA who tested positive are asymptomatic and feeling fine. Late last night, Team USA was told one of their 3 goaltenders tested positive. Shortly after that, Team USA found out one of his other forwards also tested positive. There were rumors it was 2 goalies. Well, that deflates that. This morning, the 2 players who tested positive and their roommates were isolated into 4 separate rooms. The rest of the team was immediately put in a hotel room quarantine, awaiting further test results from today and tomorrow. All members of Team USA were tested this morning, and those results will come back later tonight or tomorrow. And a second set of testing will be done tomorrow, and expedient results will be returned prior to 4 p.m. In order for Team USA players to be cleared to play Switzerland tomorrow night, they would require 2 negative tests in a 24-hour period. That is the path to Team USA being able to play versus Switzerland. What happens if there are more positive tests? Oh, Sweden, sorry. To play versus Sweden, I'm talking too fast. What happens if there are more positive tests from today's or tomorrow's testing? Not all positive tests are created equal. For example, if the roommate of one of the original positive test players would be positive, that would be less threatening. Team USA return to play hopes that if another player tests positive, and more positive tests tonight would require the IHF 8-person medical committee to make a determination to the potential impact not only Team USA but also Team Sweden. Suffice to say, Team USA is exasperated because they say their players have followed the turning protocols. Players are not in lockdown mode like last year, more of a semi-controlled environment, and their positive players are asymptomatic. He could add a bunch of other details, but that's pretty much it. So we are kind of in a wait and see mode if the US are playing Switzerland. I think it's a very damn it, sweet. I've got the Devon in me.
You're pulling a Devon.
But basically, yeah. I know that I am alone on an island here, but I just don't. And I know that everything with the protocols and everything were put in place, but I hate that the U.S. had to forfeit this game. I wish there was another way to do it. This becomes a lack of proactivity from a bunch of people, and it's just frustrating. I want to be clear. I'm not saying that the game should have been played if it's a risk for people. It's not what I'm saying. But I do think that I wish there was another solution. That's all.
You're not on an island, Kev. I think everyone's is frustrated with this whole situation. I just don't know what the other options are at this point. If you're not, like as they said, they're asymptomatic. So if you're not allowing these players to play asymptomatically, then what are they just? Are you going to? Like with the protocols that are in place with the federal government, the provincial governments, and all the local governments involved here, along with everything, and it's changing so much in the past 2 weeks alone. And it's just, I just don't know if there was an option out there. They had to follow the local protocols. Part of what Bob McKenzie said, but they're working with the federal health government, the federal government health agencies, the provincial Alberta Health Association, to create these protocols. Their hands are tied for a lot of this, honestly. Like, I don't know what, like, you talk about proactivity. I just don't know. I don't know what they could have done. Like, if the governments, when things got bad and started saying, no, if you guys have positive tests, the whole team has to quarantine. Like, that's all they can do. Like, honestly, the only other way they could have done is had another Team USA waiting in the wings. And really, are we going to have like players sitting doing nothing and then having to step into games here? Like, I don't know if there's a right answer. Like there's a good alternative to this, unless unless they were able to actually negotiate better protocols or protocols that could allow for the game to happen. It's just and Chris, a lot of those rules were put in place before in November before Omicron was prevalent as well. There was also ones that were added right at the last minute because of the Omicron strain. So I don't know how much proactivity there could have actually been done to avoid this, and especially when you're actually having to follow governmental regulations and everything to make this happen. I get where you're coming from, Kev. I just don't know what the answer is, and I don't know if how much proactive thinking could have been done to avoid this.
Maybe one thing that I think maybe an option to maybe extend this tournament by a couple of days to allow for a possibility of something like this to happen going forward. That's the only, and I know that, and that would take the agreement of all of the hockey community. But if this tournament is as important as everyone says it is, there should be unity on this, that we want to make sure that this tournament is done with the best possible integrity and a best on best and what everybody wants. And that's the only other thing.
I just don't, and again, I just don't see that happening realistically. You're having to get the NCAA, you're having to get USHL, you're having to get all three CHL leagues, all the European leagues to agree to allow these players to stay longer than originally planned. And I don't know if you could actually get that to happen feasibly, unfortunately.
Well, I want to believe that would be possible, but that's the only other thing. I just think it's a very unfortunate situation, and I feel like it's a punishment that is something that is beyond people's control. I mean, it's like cases are rising. It was 22% of Albertans I saw today have been tested positive at this point.
It was the 22% positivity rate for those who went in and got tested, let alone all the people who have followed the regulations and not actually gone in for PCR tests and just been done rapid tests. It's everywhere, unfortunately. It is everywhere. We talked about it a little bit yesterday in terms of we got Chris and unfortunately Hannah, who have both tested positive with rapid tests. Heidi's been sick. We haven't been able to find rapid tests because that's another issue. But Heidi and I have been isolating to the point where we're just under the assumption that we do have it, just because there's none of the pharmacies around us have it. We don't have vehicles, so there's no point. We don't have the ability to drive around the city in our own personal bubble to find it, let alone go into a store to get it, which is technically against the isolation regulations that the government has set forth anyways. So it's everywhere right now. And I just don't think it's fair to hold the organizing committee, the IHF, Hockey Canada, against the wall for this in a situation where I just didn't think they could have planned for it, unfortunately, unless they got everyone under to follow the to agree to extend the tournament, like you said there, Kev, maybe extend rosters or whatever. But I just don't think it if you look at what is potentially realistically feasibly possible, I don't know if there was an actual solution to this other than just saying, well, we're in a short tournament with a timeline. Hopefully all of the American players test negative tonight and tomorrow so they can play on, or even if it's potentially just the two roommates that test positive, and the rest of Team USA can continue on with this tournament and not forfeit any more games. That would be the best case scenario, and we can move on. It's just like, oh well, and they end up playing Canada or Finland in the quarterfinals. Like,
Yeah.
we could get Canada versus US in the quarters. Ugh, that's gonna be
Yeah.
stressful.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see how this works out. I just wish I wish there was a better way. That's all.
Oh,
And
I
I'm
think
not.
everyone wishes that, Kev. I think everyone wishes there was a better way to handle all of this. Like, not to get too much into ditch here, but we've got all these postponements and rescheduling of NHL games because all the capacity limits on Canadian arenas right now. So, like, even back, but we're talking about Connor Bedard. I was looking at when is Regina back in Calgary to play the Hitmen? February 6th. By the way, if you're in Calgary, good, and you want to go watch him play, February 6th at the Dome. Connor Bedard and the Regina Pats are in town to face the Hitmen. Go watch. I know I'm going to try and get tickets for that as well. But it is, maybe it's because I've just gone through this all there, Kev. It is what it is. It's really hard to plan for this. It's really hard to plan for this.
Yeah, I agree. I understand that, but I think what bothers me is the shrug of the shoulder. It's just nothing we can do, guys. I'm sorry, man. Like these players are working their asses off.
Yeah, but I just don't. I don't know. I don't like.
Yeah.
That's just where it is. I just don't. Yeah, it sucks that you have to make that shrug, but like I would have loved to have been able to go out to a pub and watch the next couple games versus Germany and then Finland. But there's no, like, maybe I could do Finland, but do I really feel after going through all this, mate? Probably not. Like, it's just, I would love to go and do stuff like that. I would love to go and support all this. Like, I remember them going like, oh, they're coming back. We're like, oh, maybe we should try and get tickets at least to the pool, like the games in Red Deer, and then just things. It just totally sucks, Kev. It really does. I just don't know what the feasible answer is, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's fair.
And I completely and I just want to make sure you are not alone. You are not on an island with that take you're taking, Kev. I think it's just your empathy is very much warranted. These kids have worked their asses off to get here. These kids deserve better. The women deserve better in terms of like not having the U18s their U18s being canceled, which I do want to get into a little bit because they talked about it on the broadcast, and I found the press release article that the AHF released. There's still a very good chance that that U18 women's Worlds happens. Because they had to go out and say cancel, so it gave them the flexibility to go elsewhere. If they postponed, they had to work with Sweden to find a way to make it happen. And Sweden had Sweden been able to say with the we have the ability to do that later on, I'm pretty sure they would have. But according to the host nation Sweden, they couldn't. So we have to wait and see whether or not Sweden relinquishes the host duties for 2022. After everything we've seen being put out there on social media from US hockey, Finland hockey, I think even Sweden hockey as well as all the big names in women's hockey, as well as some NHLers and the media, they will relinquish it, and hopefully we see the term may be rescheduled later on this year in 2022 to maybe in the States or Canada, and make that happen, because those girls deserve better.
Yeah, what I want to, the article is I have the article here. We'll put it in the chat. I'll post it on my Twitter as well. That I want to hear what some of the players are, how the players are responding before I delve into it. It's like I see their points, but I also don't know if it's fair to them to have a tournament in June when everything is kind of. I do hope that this can get done in a hockey type of year or in a hockey type of season, like in February or March when hockey is more on our mind than June. But we'll see. I just want to hear from some of the more advocates of women hockey, some of the women that are involved, some of the people that are involved in this decision, what they have to say in response to this before I give an opinion.
I mean, that's fair. I think what was said, yeah, there's some wording issues. I think leading off in it with this is not a, what did he say? This is not a gender issue. Is not necessarily the best way to handle it, unfortunately, with how things have been put forth. But I do want to say that it's I think them going out there and trying to explain their side of things is fair.
Oh, absolutely.
And
but I want to hear what other people's response to it is before I give mine.
I've seen some of it, and to me, a lot of it still looks very much they're still hurt.
Yep.
Which is totally fair. Like if I was probably dealing with something similar, I'd be very much the same way. I'm a very emotional person. But I think when I try and look at it rationally, it makes sense, but there needs to be follow-up. The only way what was said can carry any sort of weight is if they go into Sweden and say, you have to drop the hosting duties for 2022 because you said you couldn't reschedule it. We need to reschedule this and make a significant effort to get this happening, to make sure that this tournament happens this year. We cannot have 2 years in a row that the U18 Women's Worlds gets canceled. We cannot have that. They have to put every effort. They have to put in the Gary Bettman effort to keep Arizona in Arizona to make sure that the U18s happen.
Yep. Yeah. So that's where I'm waiting and seeing what other options are out there. It should be I would imagine it's going to be in North America. I imagine that the other issue though is depending on, and just not to get too far in that rabbit hole, how they schedule some of these Canadian home games going forward, I think it's going to have an impact on that as well. But I want this tournament to happen for sure.
We all do.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think we've covered everything for this.
No, there is actually still one more topic I want to cover there, Kev.
Okay.
It's we just watched Canada beat up on Austria 11-1. I was talking with someone on Twitter. We actually had Shane Ryan. We had him on the podcast last season to talk about the Senators. I do think that it's time to rethink about how you host these U20 tournaments as well for the men's. I think it's time to think about how you the teams that qualify at the bottom end of this top tier, and I think it's time that we look at having have a qualification tournament earlier on in the year, say in September or October, where you've got the Division 1 teams playing to get like the 1 or 2 spots in the 10-team tournament, so that part of the reason is how with Belarus just qualified, how many of those players from that team are going to actually get to play in it next year?
Yeah.
And how many of those players and how strong is that team going to be next year because of that? So why don't you have it earlier on in the year, have a qualification tournament to decide the last, say, 2 spots for this 10-team tournament. And then you know that you're going to have likely the same roster, if not 95% of the same players on that qualified the country for the top tier to play in it. I think that's so much that's so much better for for say these 19-year-olds who wouldn't get to play in it any otherwise. And B, it's a reward for getting there. And then you're trying to make sure your country stays there for the year after. Maybe it's still only one spot, but still. Like, I think I absolutely love that, because then you know that you're getting the best you're getting the best team from this age group. Because it's an aged tournament, I think you need to have that. I think it would be so much better.
I think there's some merit to it. I think it's something worth discussing, and I think it's a good way to prepare people for the World Juniors. It's, I mean, I don't think that. I think people, no one expected Austria to win tonight. I don't think that was a fair expectation. I don't think Austria expected to win tonight, but it's nice to get them. I just get them prepared and continue to. I don't think it's a bad idea.
No, and you talk about we went back to your kind of your idealism on stuff. I also would love, I'm a big fan of the bigger tournament for growth of hockey and everything. And I think actually having having a qualification tournament the same year before this one to get into it would really help that. But I also just yearn for, like, maybe even just like a top 6. Like, you'd have Canada, Sweden, Finland, Russia, States, and then you'd have like Czech Republic or sorry,
Czechia.
That goes into the swear jar. That's a fine. Czechia or Slovakia or whatever, and where every game matters. Every game is going to be against a team that has a chance to win. For the most, like, other than me, but like, as much as we talked about how Connor Bedard was amazing tonight, I still would love to see a tournament where it's just like the top powers and just see what happens.
See, for me, I think it's about growing the game though too, and I think that's what allowing the Austrias and some of the I think that's important for them.
It is,
and I think that. Yeah, I don't like that they lose 11-2, but I also think they need to grow the game, and the fact that they want to play, it's an opportunity for a lot of those players. Danila Klimovich was drafted partially because of his performance at the UATs with Belarus, and if Belarus was not in that tournament, does he get that opportunity? No,
but yeah, and I think I prefaced that whole thing with, like, I agree with the bigger tournament. Just my I just want to see that. I just want to see a top 6 tournament, just for shits and giggles. Even if it's like best on best, like you take the NHL players and just do it.
Yeah,
you have a double round robin, and now you have that's what the next World Cup should be. The top 6 nations. I'm sorry for all the other players who don't get to play, or we just listed off the top 5, and then you have Europe again. And then sure, why not? Let's make a spectacle of it, and double round robin, and then the top 2 teams get a bye to the semis, and the rest play in the quarters. Let's do it.
Well, we'll have to see how that goes.
I'll make a prediction. We will have another rendition of the NHL World Cup within the next 2-3 years.
Yeah, they're going to have to do it. If they are not going to the Olympics, I think that there's going to have to be something worked out for that.
I want to see McKinnon and McDavid playing together. God, come on! I want them to see them on the same line, just running amok. And I want to see both Kachucks on a line together, just pissing everyone off, including me.
It would be a lot of fun. Let's leave it there. Some of us get up at 4:30 a.m. tomorrow. So
it's not even 8 o'clock there, Kev.
It's almost 8 o'clock. It is almost 8. It is 7:56 local time. But we will be back tomorrow.
Yep.
As we recap Canada, Germany. Hopefully, good news on the U.S.-Sweden front, and other good news as we go forward. Word of the week is cold. Yes, and so message us for that. We also have
Word of the week is cold. Don't forget to Kev, but don't forget to retweet any of our game recaps from the World Juniors. Don't forget to retweet any of our pod clips. Kevin, you posted one about the short-sightedness of the IIHF today, as well as we had our weekly episode yesterday. So if you retweet that, you get an entry into the Pig and Puck Club contest to get a ticket to a Calgary Flames and Vancouver Canucks game late in the season. It's scheduled for April 23rd, but with everything going on, we don't know if that will stay. But either way, we'll have 2 tickets to give away, and we want to hang out with you. Chris, Devin, and I will be going to that game and hanging out with you if you win. So retweet to get 1 entry and DM us at podcast_hockey to get 3 entries into the Pig and Puck contest with the word of the week, which is cold.
Yes, and then also just keep in mind we have a couple of announcements about the future of the podcast coming up very soon, so keep an eye out for that. And I think that is that is it. How do we follow everyone?
I am BeardyConnect03 on Twitter.
Tyler, TNOBLE, Schneids, Christian Schneids, SCHNAIDZ, Devin, Gordhowe09, I am KEVOLE, podcast_hockey, Facebook.com, The Hockey Podcast, YouTube.com, The Hockey Podcast. Connor Bedard went in, he did a deke, he did around, made a move around the defenseman, and then boom, he scored the goal, 4 of them, as Canada wins 11-2. We will talk to you all very soon. Bye for now.